Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Royal Instinct. Today, we are going to do a deep dive on the pickup artist industry. In particular, we'll be looking at Owen Cook and why he is lying to you, okay? Why pickup doesn't work, okay? And that the advice that he gives actually goes against everything that he says and what he stands for, right? We'll be exposing him. We are going to look at what he is doing in order to milk his followers for money while he is actually doing completely the opposite. Okay, what is he trying to tell you? He is telling you to get girls via your ability to communicate, via your ability to be in a positive frame of mind. While all those things are important, you need to kind of look back and peel back the layers of what he is doing. And the reason why I'm doing this video is I came across the video that we'll be breaking down soon, um, where he is, not being very, very truthful about what he's actually doing. And once we play the video, we'll see what he is doing. Okay. And you have to remember, we are living through a time of crises. Many, many people, many young men today are very disenfranchised. Okay. They do not know how to solve their problem. Okay. Many of these people are lonely and depressed. Many of them want relationships. Okay, we as humans are built to have relationships, to want to date. Okay, we are sexually driven. Okay, to procreate. That is why we are here on a genetic basis, on a DNA level, to further the human lineage, to bring about children. And if you think about it, right, all throughout history, okay, men and women have come together to make babies, which is why we are the most dominant species across the globe, which is why we are here today in the modern world, right? And all of a sudden, you have these pickup gurus, pickup artists coming along telling you, you know their version of events of how to get women, when it is coded in your DNA. All right, you are born to attract the opposite sex. Okay, you are born to get women, right? But the modern world that we live in right now has brainwashed you into a submissive nature. It is going against your masculinity, against your nature. You are going against everything that nature has made within you. Okay, you are more suppressed today. The modern man is weaker than ever before. Okay, and which has led to many, many men being confused, not being able to distinguish how to live, how to get by. And many, many men are checking out because they aren't able to attract a mate anymore. Okay, and main reason why is because um you have too many self-doubts within you, you have too many fears within you. Okay, and you need to break free of those self-doubts, of those fears, and go past everything that is holding you back in order to get a girl, in order for you to live a happy and fulfilled life, right? Let's dive straight into this video.
Action that leads to sex look like? And why are looks and money really not that relevant when it comes to meeting a girl, attracting her?
Why looks and money are irrelevant, he says. Okay, we're living through a time where you can see online, this looks maxer craze, okay, popping off in the last 5 6 months or so, where many people are optimizing the way they look in order to attract a mate. And in a internet age, in a curated reality where your Instagram page is kind of the driver of which determines how successful you are, you might be led to believe that that is the case. Okay, that you need to look a certain way in order to get a man, right? And many women will kind of say as well, oh, my type is this. Okay, I look for these qualities in a man. But their actions and what they do is actually far from the things that they say, right? You need to look at what women say, what women do, sorry, instead of what women say. Okay, and because of the difficult times that we find ourselves in. Okay, because many people are going through hardships in terms of finances, right? The world is becoming a place which is differentiated by the haves and the have nots. Many people are struggling financially, and today it costs money in today's world. Okay, and so women are attracted to the lifestyle that you can project, the the amount of resources that you can accumulate, right? And what the PUAs do is they try to trick you to show you, that, oh, I can provide all these things, right? But they are pretenders. They are not telling the truth, okay? Which is leading a whole generation to buy into this methodology, buying his shit, okay? And then at the end of it, they will be left without any results.
Having sex with her and then having her hopefully become your girlfriend. What is it that happens during an interaction that leads to sex, dating, and relationship?
Okay, so while we're here and freeze framing on his face, you can see in the picture he is wearing a blinged out diamond necklace, right? So the guy who tells you that you don't need money or looks, okay, he is signaling via what he is wearing, okay, a very very expensive chain. If it's real, if it's not, I'm not gonna. Let's go with the assumption that it is real. There are real diamonds, okay. That is a um very very expensive chain that he's got around his neck, right? When a woman sees that, right, is she going to think that this guy's poor? Okay, is she going to think that this guy has no money, no resources? Okay, you see a guy wearing a chain like that and you think he's got money, okay, that he's got access to resources, that he has the ability to make enough money for him to wear a chain like that, okay. It is a signal, okay, and people pay attention to signals, okay, which is why especially women are obsessed with brand names, okay. They buy Hermes bags, Chanel bags, Gucci, Versace, all the brand names, right? These women know what they are, right? Gucci, um, you know, um, is important. Why do men wear very very expensive watches? Okay, Patek Philippe, Rolexes, because it signals that you are a man of abundance, that you have access to resources, that you have money to spend, right? That is what the world that we live in, okay. And how do we get to this place? I mean, it's always been the case that you needed money to date, right? But now in a world where you have to you understand that we have access to each other all over the world, okay. But just because we have access doesn't mean that we the other person has to spend time paying you any attention, right? So they are going to pay attention to the most wealthiest people, the most people who are well connected, the people with status, the people with abundance, to offer them a lifestyle, to offer them a new way of life, which is what women are going for, okay. And this guy is coming here saying it's not about how you look, and I agree. I mean, look at him, right? So the looks maxes are wrong, okay. He's pointing out the fact that looks max is wrong, and he's right, okay. So it's not about your looks, right? But then he's also saying that you don't need to be rich, okay. Well, if you don't need to be rich, then why is he wearing, right, why is he so fucking blinged out, right? If money didn't, if all you needed was pick up a device, if all you needed was PUA skills and game, right? If all you needed was to, be able to, naturally be charismatic and talk your way into pussy, right? Why is he wearing, right, a like $30,000 chain around his neck? Why? And that hat he's wearing, it seems like a camouflage hat. I bet you that is a very expensive hat as well. I bet there's a big brand logo, stitched in at the front, signaling to women who know all about the expensive brands, that he has money. He is creating a look. He's wearing certain clothes. He is iced out in jewelry, right? Because he is trying to signal, okay, peacock in essence, right? He's trying to show off. Look, I'm rich. Look at me over here. I'm rich. Give me pussy. That is what he's trying to do, okay. But the fact that he doesn't acknowledge that is why he is a liar, okay. So this video, right, and the reason why I'm saying that he is lying to you is because of this very reason, okay. I don't have a problem with him giving his advice. I don't have a problem with him, people buying his courses or whatever. The problem is, okay, you are not acknowledging what you are doing compared to what you're telling your followers to say, right? And it's very simple. If he came out and said, "Yeah, look, man, like you need to look like you're fucking rich. You need to look like you have money," right? Which he looks like he has money because he's wearing literally $30,000 across his fucking neck. Okay, like how many people do you know, right? Just wear casually a $30,000 necklace around the neck. How many people? How many people do you see iced out like that? Okay, it's giving a signal. Look, like I mean, wearing blingy chains. is a rapper thing to do. Okay, it's steeped in hip hop, right? It is steeped in that culture, and the reason why rappers do it is to signal, look, I'm fucking rich. Okay, that I have money, right? And he's doing the same. He's trying to coattail off the same principle, but he's not mentioning it to you, right? And at least be honest to your followers. At least be honest to the people who pay attention to you, right? Because this is a guy who's got thousands, hundred thousands of followers. I believe he's got something like 250,000 followers on YouTube. So people are paying attention to his advice, right? People are looking up to him, and you have to understand the psychology of these people who follow him, right? They're usually very, they're hurt people, right? They are people who, they want to date, they want to find a girlfriend. They're not finding the type of relationships that they want. In many cases, they can't find any girl to date, right? So then, when this guy appears and tell you, oh, you don't need to look good, you don't need to be rich, right? You don't need to be good looking. What happens is, these people believe him, right? Because these people are at their lowest phase in life, right? They're in a very, very low point, and they're very vulnerable. Okay. And this is a form of exploitation. Okay. So he needs to come out and rectify the fact that he is lying, right? He's straight lying, right? Because why the fuck are you wearing a $30,000, $40,000 chain, okay, around your neck, right, in order to signal that you have money, or at least come out and say it's fake. Okay, the chain cost you $100. Okay, it's not real. They're not real diamonds. Okay, and then it's all good, right? That these are fake diamonds. At least tell us what is going on. Your choices for wearing this outfit, for wearing all this fucking bling, for wearing all this ice. Why are you doing it? Okay, and then why are you disregarding it by saying you don't need to be rich when you're clearly trying to dress rich to look wealthy in order to signal to people that you have resources and that you have money. Okay, this is the hypocrisy that we live in. And I'm not somebody who you know uh hasn't tried this shit myself. Okay, I'm somebody who's done knows a lot about pickup artistry. Okay, I'm somebody who knows a lot about game. I'm somebody who knows a lot about this type of content because I used to follow the advice. Okay, I'm somebody who's done 4,000 approaches, right? I've really tried and tested every different type of method, every different type of game that you can think of: night game, day game, okay, London day game model, um right? Every little thing that these people taught, I kind of, looked through it, I read all the content, and then I applied it, right? 4,000 approaches later, I came to the conclusion, the fact that if you can go and approach, okay, it is good character building, right? It is great character building, and you kind of learn um, the reality of it, which is, just because you got the balls to go up and say hello to a girl, right? Just because you got the balls to come and say hello, girl. Many females do like the compliment. Okay, many of these girls will enjoy the extra attention, right? But it doesn't necessarily mean that they will date you, right? Because many of these pickup artists, right, even if they get a number, right, even if they close a girl, right, they will not get a call back because at the end of the day, they want to know more about you in terms of your lifestyle. Okay, they will ask what your job is. They will know how much. They want to know kind of how much you earn, right? And nobody kind of asks, "Oh, how much are you earning this year?" Right? Like they kind of figure it out for themselves by the amount of money that you're spending on a date, by the amount of money that you are spending on yourself, on your clothes, right? Do you have a $30,000 necklace around your neck? Right? Are you iced out? Are you dripped out in gold and diamonds? Right? And if a girl sees that, she can kind of figure out if you can spend that much money on jewelry, right? Then he is living a great lifestyle. Okay, he is somebody who is very wealthy, and then they don't mind you dating, right? They will date you. They will want to be with you. You will have a queue of women coming up to you to be part of your life. Okay. However, okay, what if you don't have money? What if you don't have looks? You still need to, build yourself up as a man, right? And be seen as a point of authority. Okay. You need to be seen as a leader. And what this channel is about, that we come together and we build authority and become leaders by becoming subject matter experts. Okay. So if you think that you're somebody who has no hope, that you are a lost cause, that you will never meet somebody, that you will never date a girl, there are ways for you to improve your life, right? Okay, we all have access to the internet, right? Which means that you have access to everybody who is on the internet, right? So there's 10 billion people in the world. Obviously or not all 10 billion people are connected on the internet, but let's, for argument's sake, let's say 10 billion people on the internet, right? I'm not here to build a mass following. I'm here to find like-minded people who watch my content and realize, that I am somebody who is like them. Okay, I'm looking for like-minded people, people who have similar sort of values, people who have similar sort of beliefs, right? And I want to connect with those people. Okay, this isn't a channel for me to make a living off of YouTube. This is a channel for me to send a signal out to the world, right? For me to meet the type of people that I want to spend my time with, right? And once I do that, once I find those right people, okay, we are going one step further. Okay, I'm looking for 100 people to connect with, to build and bring together 100 subject matter experts, right? Because we will be seen as points of authority, right? We will be seen as leaders. Okay, we will be seen experts in our field, and the field can be, right, you don't need a fucking degree to do this. It just needs to be the thing that you are most passionate about. It needs to be the thing that you find most interesting. It needs to be the thing that the reason why you're here on this earth, right? And you are guided by your passions, by your interests, by the things that you're good at. Okay, and that is valuable information. Okay, because it comes from experience, things that you have experienced within your own life. Okay, things that you have researched, things that you know about, and build authority within that field, be seen as a subject matter expert. Okay, and then once you are seen as an expert, once you build authority, right, we go one step beyond. We build ourselves up as kings. Okay, we build nations. We will move out from whatever country that you live in. We'll buy private islands and set up new nations, set up new kingdoms, right? That is what we are doing. And the world is headed towards a unprecedented, uncharted place, because there are many wars across the world. Okay, things are getting worse and worse, right? Wherever you live, inflation is out of control. Okay, AI is coming to get your job, right? The world is headed to a very dangerous place, right? And once we are in this place, okay, the only choice that you have is to submit to the global elites, the people who are in charge. Okay, they want you totally dependent on them, right? And before that happens, we want to escape. We want to form a new network. We want to form new nations, build kingdoms, so that we can escape, so that we can be in charge of our lives. Okay, so that we can live as free men, right? And then because we've built all these systems, right, because we are coming together and building new economies, new nations, right, the people who are left behind in these old systems, they would want to escape too, right? In the next 3, 4, 5 years, okay, these people would want to escape. And where would they escape to? They will seek refuge to you, because you are subject matter expert, because you have authority, okay, because you have built yourself up to be a king, right? We are going to live lives of luxuries. We are going to be the new ruling class. We are taking on the global leads. All right, we will take over and we will lead the world to a new, better phase.
Let me explain it to you. So a lot of people think that it's based on looks and money. Here's how they envision it. Most guys, they're completely delusional as far as what works with women. So I always say the two biggest delusions with men is, first of all, that they would kick your ass in a fight, bro. They have no fighting training at all. But if they ever did get in a fight, they'd kick some ass. And then the other delusion is that they think they know how to pick up a girl. They've never.
So what he's doing there is basically he's correlating two things which are totally separate. Okay, he's saying basically most men are delusional, that they can win a fight against a guy, and that they can pick up any girl. Right, now picking up a girl is very, very difficult, right? Because first of all, you might have fears and anxieties which are stopping you from approaching a woman anyway. And most people who, if they were to get in a fight and have no prior fighting experience, will freeze up, right? And even if you are able to throw a punch, okay, and if you don't know if the other guy is more experienced, okay, and you might get your ass kicked, okay. So he's kind of putting you in the sense of this into a frame of a defensive man, right, who is unprepared to fight, getting into a fight. The reality is, it is very rare that men get into fights, okay, especially men who can't fight, right? Like, and if they are, if they are sure or underprepared that they're not going to win a fight, it's very rare that a person kind of, starts to argue with someone. It kind of happens when someone's drunk, right? A lot of fights happen on nights out when people are drunk, and, when people are, not kind of, 100% them, when they are in this, zombie-like state, and somebody kind of pushes them and they get a little bit leery, that they argue back with someone. It's very rare, if somebody, right, if you're out shopping, for example, and somebody bashes their trolley into yours, it hardly ever escalates into a fight. Okay, you kind of have to be a psychopath for it to escalate into a fight. But many people have a fear of fighting. If you do, like, take self-defense classes. Okay, like, I'm somebody who done Muay Thai, right? And then, I put myself in the position of sparring. Okay, and I have fighting experience, right? But if I was ever to get into a fight, I wouldn't follow through with it, right? Because you don't know who the other person is. You don't know if they're carrying any weapons. Okay, so this example that he's giving you, right, to kind of put you into this mental frame of a vulnerable person getting into a fight who's unable to, he's kind of using that example to put you into a mental frame of that you can't chat up a girl, right? Well, many men can't chat up a girl, right? And many men really don't do it anymore, especially in this day and age where, people are, using internet and dating apps, right? Instagram, okay, they're contacting and DMing each other on Instagram. Online dating is kind of the place to date these days, right? So these examples that he's giving you, right, are false, but because he's kind of mentioning it, and this is the thing, when you're watching a video and hearing someone speak, right, you can't talk back to them. So you kind of just have to either watch the whole video, right, and take in 100% of what he says, or you can stop watching, right? But if you watch the whole thing, you can't argue back and stop him at any time and say like, oh, I actually, and give him feedback and reasons and argue back. You can't do that. It's a fucking video, right? So he has 100% authority to kind of just steamroll you with his examples, right, until the point of where they do not count, right? They don't count, right? Because how likely is it that you are going to get in a fight? And if it does, it happens very rarely. If it does, it escalates because the other person's a psychopath or a crazy person. Or maybe you're at school where, younger children, when they're in high school, they haven't learned the rules of life yet, kind of, they haven't conformed to normal society, so they will kind of escalate, and because they can't keep their emotions in check, they a fight might escalate. And even if you do get into a fight when you're a child, it's very unlikely that you will as an adult. Okay, so don't be afraid, especially if you're living in a Western world, right? Don't be afraid of a fight. Don't allow this person to put his thoughts into your head. Be very aware of what he is saying.
Ever done a single cold approach ever, but in their mind, if they ever did do it, they would for sure get laid. Now, what they'll do.
No, most people don't believe that, right? People who've never cold approached, okay, you know, the reason that they don't cold approach is because they think that they can never get a girl, because they're too afraid to do it. So it's not like you have all these people watching that are delusional, right? They don't, right? The reason people even watch his fucking content is because they want to cold approach and know that they can't. So why the fuck would that person in their head be like, oh yeah, I can do that, but let me watch a video about cold approaching? It doesn't make sense. Okay, so again, what he is saying is far from the truth. He is using examples to trick your brain into submitting.
Is they'll have met their last girlfriend at work, like I met Janine from work.
Yeah, and that is how most people fucking meet, right? They, especially before the internet, right? They used to meet via friend groups. They used to meet at school, high school, college. They used to meet, workplaces. They used to have friends of each other, introduce each other, okay, to find girls, to find a partner, right? And dating happened very, very quick because the options available were limited, right? People weren't as picky, right? They used to literally start dating, and if they got on, if there was some attraction, if they were nice to each other, if they made each other laugh, it kind of led to marriage at that point, right? Like it's only like the last really since the 90s, where this whole modern dating culture really started, okay, and it kind of got pushed down your throat with shows like Friends, with shows like Sex and the City. These shows really push the narrative of that, oh, dating should be this fun experience, that you should go out there and date hundreds of people before you meet the right one, right? It never used to be like that, right? It is only a modern phenomenon. This is part of the modern world. This is the place that we find ourselves. Let's go into the comments. Okay, hidden channel, friend of the show, how you doing? I hope you're well. I'm seeing your videos. Every time I watch one of your videos, man, it's like you're doing another crazy challenge. pushing your body to the limit. I'm really proud of you. I'm looking forward to your next video that you'll be posting. It's especially dangerous to approach white women in the US. They give terrible reactions. Now Latinas are starting to act the same. You have to stand out from a group of a thousand men to win. Yeah, you have to stand out. I agree with that. Okay, but it's not just white women or Latinas, right? It is because is it women are all watching the same type of content online, right? So they're the you know, you used to have groups of people all across the world, right, thinking very, very different, living within their local communities, okay, having different ideologies, right? But now, because of the internet, which is the new world that we live in, right? You might live in the US, you might live in Canada, you might live in Mexico, you might live in Thailand, right, across the globe, you might live in Russia, okay, but we're all consuming the same information from the internet, okay, via Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, right? And then because the same content is circulating, the same ideas start circulating, and then you're brainwashing the whole world to think the same, right? So if this, you're saying white women in the US, okay, but whatever content that they're consuming, whatever ideologies they believe, you're saying it's spreading to Latinas, it's because they're consuming the same content, right? They're watching the same shit, and then they start thinking the same shit, right? Which is, I mean, if you look at religion, for example, right, like you had Bibles spreading across Europe, right? So Europe became Christian, and then you bring those Bibles over to America, right? Then you have Americans, Christians in America. Okay, you give Bibles to people in Mexico, right? Then these, and the ancient, indigenous tribes became Christian because they're sharing the same content, the content being the Bible, right? Well, in the same way as sharing the Bible across the globe breeds, the whole world, many countries being Christian. It's the same way with communities across the globe watching the same content about how to date, the expectations for men, right? So it it isn't just within the US, it isn't just white women or Latinas. It's happening everywhere. Okay. Like even if you was to now, I mean, for a long time, you had, I don't know if you heard of a thing called passport bros. It's basically, Americans or Westerners going to, third world countries or less developed countries like, Eastern Europe, Thailand, parts of Asia, even like parts of Africa, right? Or Brazil, for example. Basically because you have a lot more money that you make in the West, and then you take that wealth and you leverage it in those less developed countries. It used to buy you, a great dating life, okay? But now because of the internet, these trends get noted, these trends spread, right? And then many people know about passport bros. Passport bros is like a meme on the internet now, right? So even if you find like a hack, even if you find like a niche, a way to hack the system and gain, and achieve the dating life that you want, right? If it's not authentic, if it's a trick that you're using, right, and especially if you're talking about on the internet, it will spread. If it works, it's going to spread, right? And then once it's spread, once women are aware of it, it won't work any longer, right? So you have to be very careful. This is why on this channel, like I'm not telling you to go out and date. I'm not telling you to do thousands of approaches. I'm not telling you to chase women. What I'm telling you to do is to build yourself up, right, in the things that you are already interested in the things that you already care about. Because you care about it, naturally you're going to do it regardless, right? Regardless if it gets you girls or not, it's something that you're going to do anyway, right? But build yourself up in it and be seen as a subject matter expert, so that you are seen as somebody who has authority, right? And when you have authority, right, that is when money starts flowing your way, because you're an expert at this point, right? So when you are an expert and then you make money, then you can leverage that money to date whoever the fuck you want, okay? And you don't need to take a PUA course. You don't need to be a passport bro, right? And you said at the end here, you have to stand out from a group of a thousand men to win. If you're a subject matter expert, okay, and especially you really you're interested in fitness, in physically pushing your capabilities as a man, right? you, you're an expert in that field, right? So then, once you establish authority in that field, right, it's natural that people defer to you. And when you become a leader within that, right, women love a leader, right? Women love a leader. Women love a man with a lot of money, which, if you're an expert, you'll make a lot of money, right? and your dating life at that point is taken care of. Okay, so we are building genuine character. We're building genuine you know developing our personalities to the extreme, okay, to the point of where we are seen as experts, to the point of where we are really within our life purpose. And then things like money and dating, and being happy are all taken care of because you are in your life purpose, okay. And let's jump in this comment. I assume it's easy mode in the UK. No, the UK, what's the difference between the UK and the USA, right? What's the real difference? Okay, like obviously a difference in accents, a difference in culture. I agree, right? But we all consume the same fucking content, right? So the ideologies, the thinking, right? The information that's being shared, right? It's the same, right? If you watch the news in the UK, right? If you watch BBC News here in the UK, if you watch, if you read the local newspapers, right? A lot of it is talking about what's going on in America, right? Because America is a superpower, right? Across the globe, right? Whatever Trump is doing has a global effect, right? So it's not like we're disconnected because, right? There's the Atlantic Ocean between us. We're all connected via the internet now. Okay, information travels like that, right? Like I know for a fact that you're I think you're in Canada, right? Like, so you're even in Canada or the US, okay? And like me and you are thousands of miles away from each other, right? We live in different time zones, but right now, right, you're watching me, right? You're watching me, on the internet, okay? And we're talking about the same subject. That's how the internet works, right? Like we are all watching the same content, okay? And you have to understand that the ideas, there is no easy place to date anymore. There is no, utopia in the world, a secret pocket we can go date and it's a pussy paradise. It doesn't exist, right? We're all consuming the same fucking information. We're all, we're all kind of starting to think the same. This is why you need to stand out by being in your life purpose. Don't give a fuck about what's trending online. Okay, do what you feel is right. Okay, build authority within that field, right? Be seen as somebody, as a leader in your interests, right? And that is how we will establish kingdoms. Okay, because on the internet, right? Like I have this channel. This channel is a whole country within itself. Okay, and obviously it's not a fucking country. But if you think about it, it's a certain place that you have to physically click on to go, right? And then you access me and the people that I talk to. Me and you are communicating in this little pocket of the internet. Okay, this pocket of the internet is like a country because the internet is a universe. Okay, and obviously these are metaphors I'm using, but if you think about it, it kind of works the same way because before, if me and you wanted to communicate, you would have to come and visit me physically, but now we can do it digitally, right? So we are all moving online. We're all moving into this digital world, right? And that is how we will make kingdoms. That is how we will establish nations. That is how we will become, the leaders that the world needs, right? Because if it's not you, who the fuck will it be, right? If it's not you, who will it be, right? And because the people in charge right now, they're not making the world any better. Think about it. Think about any person who's come along in the last 5 years, in the last 10 years, okay? Any president, any leader, any influencer, right? Anybody who you thought had any relevance, okay? They come along, right? And then what do? They'll build an audience, right? They get a lot of headlines, okay? But then they pocket the money for themselves. I mean, look at Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate, right? He took the world by storm in what, 2021, 2022, okay, became one of the biggest people on the internet, right? And what did he do with all that power? What did he do with all that attention, right? He literally sold himself out to the Israelis, it looks like. Do you get what I mean? So these people don't have good intentions, right? This is what people like you, right? People like me need to come together and be the leaders that the world needs, right? Because only good people can change the fate of humanity. Only good people can, help the world and guide the world to a new and better world, right? Let's carry on with this video.
And it went really well. And I've actually never been rejected by a woman in my entire life. I've never had a rejection.
The thing is that most men are invisible, so they're getting rejected daily anyway, right? If you're walking down the road, think about it. If you're walking down the road and you walk past 100 women, right? If those women aren't dropping down to their knees and sucking your dick, you just got rejected by 100 women, right? Just because you physically, didn't have an interaction with them, It doesn't mean you just didn't get rejected. Okay, so again, like his examples are nonsense.
And I'm batting 1,000. I know a little thing or two about how to pick up a girl. That's pretty much most guys. But in truth, they don't know shit. They've never actually seen somebody out and had
the thing is, right, like if you have two guys, you know, like, because he looks like a hobo anyway, right, like the way he's dressed, right, so he's looking like a hobo. Hang on. Yeah, so he looks like a hobo, right? With his long beard, he looks like a lumberjack. Okay, right. If a lumberjack goes and approaches a woman, right, him, the way he looks, right, but take away the chain, okay, and then him with the chain, who do you think is going to get the fucking number? Who do you think is going to get the date? Because he's blinged the fuck out, because he looks like he earns, you know, millions of dollars, right? Okay, he looks like $1 million because he's wearing fucking 40 grand around his neck, right? Okay, like of course he's gonna get fucking results. If you're iced out, right, you're gonna get results. You're gonna get fucking pussy, right? So you know all this nonsense that all these examples that he's giving you, right? He's not taking into account that he's wearing $40,000, $30,000, whatever the fucking figure, around his neck. Okay, he is signaling that he is rich.
the balls to actually walk up and then generate chemistry, wind up going home with her, dating her, and then getting into a relationship with her. They just don't know how to do it. So what does it look like? And why don't looks and money matter that much? Shouldn't that be what matters? You know, if you're a good-looking guy, you get a good-looking girl, right? That's not how this works at all. Here's how it works. So basically what happens is that, first of all, whatever it is that you're feeling inside your body, that gets projected into the woman via what's called mirror neurons. So if you're
Okay, so whatever you're feeling inside your body gets projected via you know, motor neural. Well, let's rewind back and let me get the exact wording. Hang on.
it is that you're feeling inside your body, that gets projected into the woman via what's called mirror neurons.
Mirror neurons. Okay, so whatever you're feeling inside your body gets projected via mirror neurons. Okay, so let me get this straight. What about Harvey Weinstein? You know, what was he what was he projecting to these women? Okay, the fact that, you know, he used his power because he was a very wealthy man. Okay, he had access, a lot of power, right? He was literally running Hollywood, right? And you know, what was he projecting via his mirror neurons onto his women? Okay, because inside he's a piece of shit. Inside he is literally a predator, right? But he's projecting onto his women. Are they not feeling that? Are they not feeling that this man has bad intentions towards me? Are they not feeling that? Okay. Or are they just blinded by the power and the money? Right. So, right, if you look at Harvey Weinstein, right, it doesn't matter how you're feeling inside. Okay. All that matters is that you, right, are seen as somebody who is very powerful, somebody who is very knowledgeable, somebody who is an expert at something. Because Harvey Weinstein was an expert in making films, right? Whether you say, whether you agree with him, whether you think he's a piece of shit, okay, he made some of the biggest films, right? Like Pulp Fiction, like, you know what I mean? Kill Bill, like all these films, right? He made those films. Okay, he was part of that, you know, phase of Hollywood. Okay, which is kind of like I think the second renaissance of Hollywood. He was a big part of that, of pushing a new genre of movie making, right? So he's a big pillar in that scene, right? And he fucked the hottest women, right? The women that you probably like, you know, that were you know, poster women in the 90s and early 2000s, right? Like the women that you used to jack off to, probably, right? Like he fucked them, he got his dick sucked by them, right? Not because of what he was feeling inside, right? Not because he was afraid inside, or, you know, a piece of shit inside, or feeling good inside. It was because of the wealth that he was showcasing. It's because of who he was, right? In the same way that this guy is wearing his diamonds around his neck, right? He's wearing those diamonds to show the world, right? Again, it's not about like if he cared about his motor neurons, mirror neurons, on the inside, how he feels inside, why does he feel the need to wear, you know, $40,000 around his neck? Why does he need to feel? Why does he need to wear $40,000 around his neck? It is absolute hypocrisy. It's absolute lies that this guy is spreading. Okay, what about Jeffrey Epstein? Let's not even get started on Jeffrey Epstein, right? Like, what about Jeffrey Epstein? Like literally, like abusing women, right? Like raping women. Okay, I mean, what mirror neurons was he feeling inside? Do you get what I mean? Like, did he have the best intentions for these women? Was he like, you know, a very spiritual man? Was he a very a positive influence on the world? No, he was a piece of shit. He was a fucking pedophile, right? Okay. Yet he fucked all these women. Why? Because he got these women trafficked to them, right? Because he offered them money, because he showed them that he was a billionaire, right? The fact that he had a private jet, the fact that he had a private island, that he was connected to royalty, the fact that he was connected to politicians, CEOs of companies, okay, celebrities, because he had this vast network, and he showed a world of a lifestyle of wealth and abundance, and a lifestyle of fun, right, of a lot of money, okay, that he was able to fuck all these women, right? So again, this guy is just making up bullshit, right? Why is he wearing that $40,000 chain?
So if you're feeling fucking great, confident as fuck, completely comfortable in your own skin, relax and at ease with yourself. Sometimes they like to call that being in state. So
Okay, so Jeffrey Epstein was in state this whole time, yeah. Jeffrey Epstein was totally comfortable inside his skin, happy with the fact that he was a pedophile, right? Is that what you're going to tell me about Jeffrey Epstein? Is that what you're going to tell me about Harvey Weinstein? Okay, what about Bill Cosby? Do you get what I mean? Like what about all these predators, right? What about Andrew Tate? Okay, like he is being accused of human trafficking, right? Was he just in a happy state inside his mind, or was he posting pictures of luxury cars, supercars, wearing expensive clothes, wearing expensive watches, right? Traveling the world, right? Was it not the lifestyle, or was it what you're feeling inside? Okay, because a fucking hobo can feel good inside, right? Like if you go to the Tibetan monks, right? I'm sure because they've had a whole life of meditating, they feel good inside, right? Are they fucking drowning in pussy? I think not.
to speak, when you're feeling, quote, in state, what happens is that when you walk up to the woman, she can actively feel that you don't need any validation from her at all. You feel completely good in your own body. You feel fucking awesome, and you're not trying to take anything from her.
I mean, okay, what what about Harvey Weinstein? Was he not trying to take fucking pussy? Was he not trying to leverage his power over these women, right? To coerce them into sucking his dick, so that they can get a fucking job in Hollywood, right? Like, what was that all? Stay and feeling good inside, right? Again, like you have to, right? This guy is painting a picture, right, of this random scenario. Okay, now this scenario might work somewhere in the world, right? But then you also look at the world, right? Look around you, look at the news, okay, and then put his framework, right, and apply it to what you see out there in the real world. Okay, does it fit? Does it fit the picture? Okay, is it all these athletes getting pussy? Is it because of how they're feeling inside, or is it because that they're successful athletes with a lot of money? Okay, like which one is it? Do you get what I mean? Like, apply his framework to what you see in the real world, and it will fall apart. It will fall apart. Okay, so don't be blinded by what this guy is saying. This guy is talking absolute nonsense. He's talking out of his ass, right? And again, he has not mentioned the fact that he is wearing $40,000 around his neck.
Value leech. So unfortunately, what does happen a lot of the
Yeah, I mean, he's saying that the woman feels like that you don't need anything from her. Okay, first of all, like if this guy's wearing $40,000, right? Like, and if he is a man with a certain amount of wealth, okay, and a certain amount of resources, what does he actually need from anyone, right? Because he can pay himself around the world. Okay, he can pay his own way around through life, right? That he has so much wealth and abundance that he's happy in his life, right? Okay, like, so if you're wearing an expensive necklace like that, like yeah, that person doesn't need anything, right? And the other thing is, right, you see him wearing that necklace, right? A woman will look at that necklace and be like, well, even if she's not attracted to him, like she's like, oh, I can see a lot of girls sucking his dick, because a lot of women will be attracted to a man that makes that much money and that can wear an expensive necklace like that. Okay, so again, all this shit that he's talking about, right, he is an absolute lie, right? At least if he came out and said, look, this is what pickup is, right? You need to be somebody who has resources. You need to be somebody who has wealth, okay? And then you need to look like that you have some money with you, okay? So, and if his advice was, right, go buy a $30,000 necklace, a $40,000 necklace, okay? Go buy yourself $100,000 watch, put your Rolex on your wrist, okay? And then start approaching women, okay? And you'll get pussy. If he said that, right, like what could I say to that? because he's telling the truth at that point, right? Like, but the fact that he's not, I'm having to call this out, right? Because it is like a lot of people watch this fucking video and be like, oh yeah, like, you know, oh, like, thanks for this information, right? Oh, we really appreciate it. At least somebody's telling the truth. He's not telling you the truth. He is going to misguide a whole lot of people. And you have to look at the history of this guy as well, right? He you know, created RSD, right? Real Social Dynamics, back in the early 2000s, right? And you know, this is back in the heyday of pickup artistry. Okay, you know, they were really pushing this information online. Many people bought into it, and kind of at that time, it kind of even worked because this was pre-internet. This is pre-social media, right? So people were, you know, in living in a world where they weren't cold approaching, but they were also open to it, right? Like that, especially past the lockdowns, past 2020, when you know, social anxiety now is at an all-time high, right? So imagine you meet a girl and you know, she's absolutely gorgeous, and you yourself finally pluck up the courage to go approach her, but that woman has social anxiety, okay? Right. Even if you come and you're charming, she's going to think you're a fucking asshole because she's not going to be able to handle an interaction like that, right? She'll run away. She'll think you're a creep, right? Even if you're good looking, even if you're rich, right? Because that woman can't handle social anxiety, social interaction because of her anxiety, right? Which has been ramped up since the 2020s, right? Since COVID, right? Since the lockdowns, okay? She's much happier sitting at home, right, getting DMs and scrolling through. Okay, no, no, no. Okay, yes, I'll answer that DM. Okay, I'll come out on a date with you, right? She'd much rather be in control of her dating life that way, from the comfort of her own home, than whatever this guy is saying, whichever scenario this guy's putting himself into.
The time is that if a guy's not rich or good looking, then he does not have those qualities.
Rich or good looking, then why are you wearing $40,000 around your neck? Why are you fucking iced out? Why are you trying to be like, do you get what I mean? Like why are you trying to be Rick Ross? Why are you trying to be the white Rick Ross? Do you get what I mean? You're growing out your beard, like you're iced out, right? Like why? Why? Like at least answer the fucking question. At least, you know, point at the hypocrisy about not being rich, and then, you know, tell us why you're wearing the fucking chain. Okay, why are you not telling the truth, Owen?
Doesn't feel comfortable in his own skin because he doesn't think he measures up. He is not self-amused, but he's very reaction-seeking. He's very validation-seeking. He's very approval.
See, the thing is, if you're on a life purpose, if you are somebody who is an expert, if you are somebody who is who sees themselves as a king, who sees you know, themselves as a leader, as a point of authority, if you are a leader and a point of authority, all these things, all these extra thoughts that you have within your head, any self-doubt, are not there because you're thinking about what to do next within your life purpose, right? And if you're always progressing towards your life purpose, you're always going to be in a state of winning, or you're always going to be in a state of moving forward, right? Where any anxieties and all these things that he is telling you, right, never even enter your brain. This is why, you know, the clients that I work with, they we I help them remove their self-doubt. We work out what is holding them back in life, what their fears that they have, okay, any anxieties that they experience, okay, and we remove it. Because once you get rid of self-doubt, once you get rid of any fears, you are free to express yourself, 100% of your charisma. Okay. And then we use that, right? We use that confidence that you build within yourself, okay, the self-esteem that you build within yourself, to progress you into becoming an expert, not to go get girls, no, to become an expert, so that you are seen as a point of authority, okay, so that you're seen as an expert, as a leader, okay. And then once you have a leadership position, once you are seen as a point of authority, right, women and money are a byproduct of that. Okay. That is not what he is explaining. Okay. He is telling you to feel great inside, right? And to go approach a woman, right? Where he's not even telling you the truth about the fact that he is wearing his money, okay, his paycheck around his neck.
Chasing. He just doesn't feel good. And he's pretty much what you'd call out of state. He's the opposite of state. And then the women feel that and they run off. Well, what do you think the guy's going to blame every time that a girl runs off? Which, of course, most of these guys are never going to approach a girl ever anyway. But if they ever did, God forbid, approach a girl.
Yeah, because most of these guys, you know, they're so lost in today's society that they are, you know, becoming these, you know, these doomer people, right? They're becoming, you know, they're checking out society, right? They're being black pilled, right? And then and then a charlatan like this guy comes along, right, telling them that you need to learn pickup. You get a charlatan like fucking clavicular who comes along and tells you that you need to smash your face with a fucking hammer, okay, that you need to inject yourself with peptides, that you need to take testosterone. Tells you all this fucking bullshit advice, right, which will, ruin your health, okay. The example of him is he smokes crack. He smokes meth, right? I mean, he might be crack at this point, right? But he smokes meth, okay. And then you have a whole generation looking up to this person, believing what he's saying, because they believe that will solve their issues, that will solve them getting girls, right? When you need to, we need to educate people to, progress and find out what the life purpose is. Okay, be in your zone of genius, right? Be seen as a genius. Be seen as somebody who, whatever the thing is in your life that you find most interesting, whatever it is that you want to do in life, okay, be good at that. Okay, now I'm not here to tell you what to do, right? I'm here to tell you to find what you're good at and fucking max that. Okay, like everyone likes to throw maxing at the end. Okay, be maximize your life, right? Whatever the interest max. Okay, that is what you need to do. That is how you will solve all your issues. Okay, and the thing is, not everyone will do it. Okay. Most people are too scared to do it. Most people won't eliminate the self-doubt, which is holding them back. Okay. This is why we will win. Okay. The people that I fuck with, the people that I want to be friends with, the people that I want to chill with, the people that I want to work with, okay, the people who come to me for advice, right? These are the people who are going to be successful. Okay. Because what we are doing, what we are building, the plans that we have, nobody else is doing that. Everybody else is trying to fucking be an influencer, be a content creator, sell a course in order for them to, make some money online. Okay. Oh, I want to be a YouTuber, right? We're going like fucking 50 steps ahead of them. Do you get what I mean? Like, we are going so far, we are taking over, right? It is going to be us who are going to be the next rulers of the world, right? We are going to be outside the system, right? We cannot be controlled. Okay. You can't tell us to fucking what to do, because we are raising armies and we will overthrow the evil elites.
What will they blame it on? Well, they say, of course it didn't work out. I don't look good enough for her. That's what they'll think. They don't know what it means to be in state because they've been out of state their whole fucking life. They have no fucking idea. Okay. Now, give that same guy.
Yeah, they're all out of state because they're following a guy like him, telling them, lying to them. Do you get what I mean? Like we live in a world where everybody's fucking lying to you, where nobody has good intentions for you. Everyone is trying to fucking siphon money out of your pocket, right? And then now he's blaming you, right? His audience, he's blaming his own audience for being out of state, right? When the reason they're out of state is because nobody's authentic anymore. Nobody is telling them the truth, right? Nobody, like with their eyes, they can see that he's blinged out, but he's not telling them that. Okay, so when you have two conflicting pieces of information, of course they're not going to be fucking aligned in their life, right? They are going to be misaligned. They are going to be out of state.
Some kind of funny line that he read on the internet. And then now that kind of puts him in state a little bit for like a minute and a half while he's saying some story that he read that will help him with picking up girls on the internet.
What about your fucking story? What about your story? Like this is a whole fucking story you're doing to bamboozle your audience. Do you get what I mean? Like, because you still haven't mentioned the fact that you're wearing your chain.
But what he doesn't realize is that if he was in state, if he was in the zone, in a flow state, then what would happen is that everything out of his mouth would be liquid fucking gold and it would be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, he's got that right. Okay, you need to be in your zone, right? But you don't do that, okay, by following your feelings. You follow the thing wherever your passion lies, okay. And then, right, it's no good just being passionate about something, right? That you have to now build authority and become a leader in that field, because it's important how people perceive you, right? But if you've got no money, right, how are you going to be perceived as high status, right? So you have to build authority, but you have to be seen as somebody that people respect, okay? And look, YouTube is the best fucking way, right? You can make a whole channel about your authority, about your interests, okay? About whatever your knowledge that you have, right? You can put it out onto the internet. You can get subscribers that way, right? And that is how you build authority, okay? But that is not the advice that this guy gives, okay? He is literally not telling you the truth.
Awesome. Look, you might have seen me do 4 or 5 hour straight seminars on the internet, and I have nothing prepared in my mind at all.
Okay, so he's telling you he's got nothing prepared in his mind, right? So literally he's just bullshitting. Everything that he says is coming out of his fucking ass, right? So he is not even like, it's not like this guy is you know, like researching anything, right? To tell you the truth, right? This is not scientific. This is all just coming straight off the top of his fucking head.
I go up, my voice is booming through a 200-person room without even having a microphone that's attached to speakers. I have a mic attached to a camera to record the audio, but I don't have a mic attached to speakers.
Okay, let's forward this a bit. Let me put this forward.
I'm giving you this entire reel, and yes, I'm familiar with this subject matter. But regardless of this, and I teach this in trainings that I do, you can give me a subject like sandals or a bird or skiing or a tree, and I've done this, by the way, I'll spare you. I have proven to audiences that I can talk for 3 hours straight about sandals. I've got literal recorded lectures like this. I said the word Birkenstock sandals.
Hang on.
What happens when you walk up to the woman?
Because he's good at making shit up. That is why he can do he can speak about any fucking topic, is because he knows how to make shit up. Do you know what I mean? That is not a flex. That is literally him exposing himself and telling you the truth of what he really is.
What I realized is that most guys she's dating are 6'2" or 6'4", but she was beginning to rationalize dating a guy who's not 6'2", 6'4", and the reason why that is because she likes me, and she's beginning the process of making it make sense in her mind.
Yeah, I mean, look, if a woman likes to date men who are 6'2", 6'4", and then I think he's like 5'7", 5'8" or something, right? So average height, okay, whatever. But if he's fucking wearing a $40,000 chain, right? Do you not think that she might make an exception? Do you get what I mean? Like, height isn't the end all be all, okay? It is about who you are. It's about the lifestyle that you can produce, okay? It's about being seen as a leader. It's about being seen as a point of authority, right? And so far, this guy hasn't mentioned any of this.
So it's not that she necessarily is like, oh, I want to fuck this average looking guy, but it's that
because if you're wearing a $40,000 necklace, you're not an average guy at that point, are you? Do you get what I mean? Like, because an average guy means, right, not only physically average, average weight, average height, average facial attractiveness, right? It also means being average in terms of the type of job that you have, the type of salary that you make, okay, the type of lifestyle that you have, right? But if you add a $40,000 necklace to an average guy, he then looks above average, right? Same height, same weight, same look, right? But he looks above average at that point, right? Because he's got an expensive necklace around his face. Okay. So no, if you're only gonna fucking if you're not going to change anything and the only thing that you do is buy a fucking expensive necklace, okay, yeah, you might get more attention, but you'll get found out eventually, right? So but the fact that he wears this expensive necklace, but he also, this guy's not poor, right? He has money, right? Because many people buy his courses, spend money on him, and then he uses that money to fucking spunk on women, okay. Yeah, like, you have to also be able to back it up. You have to be the type of person who's wealthy enough to afford this type of necklace. Okay, so don't think that you can just get away with it by wearing by blinging the fuck out.
When your energy's better, you're more confident, you're more socially aware, better social intelligence, better control of frame, you're the coolest guy in the venue. Then
none of this matters. I mean, what about Harvey Weinstein? What about Harvey Weinstein? Like, none of this matters. Okay, look at all these celebrities. Like, some of these celebrities, okay, like, literally have no social intelligence. Okay, they're not really charismatic. All right, they just appear charismatic because they might play a charismatic role in a film. Okay, a lot of actors have no personality at all. Okay, which is why they make great fucking actors. Okay, they're literally blank canvases who learn a role, learn how to portray someone else, someone who is charismatic, and then you watch that person on screen, right? And then you think, oh yeah, he's such an interesting person, right? Like Leonardo DiCaprio, okay, great actor, right? One of the best, okay. He's kind of a boring person in real life, okay. If you listen to Margot Robbie, someone once asked him, oh, what's Leonardo DiCaprio like in real life? She said he's a bit of a geek. Yeah, he's kind of a nerd, right? Because all he ever speaks about is saving the oceans, right? I think that's his big thing. Okay, saving the ocean, because there's a lot of like waste and rubbish, and a lot of garbage out in the oceans. Okay, so he's very passionate about, which is, I get, okay, but that is what he speaks about. So it's not like he's a very charismatic, naturally funny person in real life. Okay, it appears that way because you've seen all his films playing these funny, great, charismatic characters, okay, these heroes. So you think, oh, he must be like that in real life, because when you watch it, your brain kind of assumes, okay, he must be like that all the fucking time, right? In essence, he's kind of a boring person. The way Leonardo DiCaprio picks up women, he he goes to a nightclub. He gets his assistant to go and approach women for him. They're saying, "Oh, Leonardo DiCaprio would like to invite you back to his hotel." Okay, of course they're going to say yes because Leonardo DiCaprio. And then when he fucks them, apparently he just he gets in between the legs. He puts his headphones in, right, and then he's listening to music or podcast or whatever while he's having sex with this beautiful woman, right. And apparently, like, a lot of women that he fucks, right, that they just think that it's just a very, very odd experience. But the fact that it's Leonardo DiCaprio, they're like, oh, it was magical, right? Like, because it was Leonardo DiCaprio, because of what they perceive him to be, not because of his energetic, presence inside, right? So again, this is absolute bullshit.
And all of a sudden, she at least wants your approval. Now you're talking to other girls. Now she really wants your approval. Now the other
Yeah, I mean, of course, like, if you're a celebrity like Leonardo DiCaprio, okay, like a woman would want his approval.
girls see her chasing your approval. Well, then what happens when the other girls see her chasing your approval? Well, then they start to chase your approval. So whenever I go out, I typically go to venues where there's a lot of people and I can chat with everybody. That said, you can absolutely meet somebody one-on-one in the day. It's not going to stop you. It's just an added bonus if you have that degree of social proof. Then what winds up happening is she's laughing and she wants to see if you're the real deal. So what you do is you shit test her and she shit tests you. So what you might say to her is little funny things. You make up little funny.
Like, I mean, he's saying go out to a nightclub or whatever event he said, and talk to everyone. Okay, if a homeless person comes up to you, okay, would you want to talk to him? Right? Probably no. Okay, if a person, right, is wearing a $40,000 fucking necklace around the neck, would you want to speak to him? Probably yeah, because it's kind of an interesting thing to wear. Right. So again, he's not pointing out the fact that this guy is blinged the fuck out. He's wearing designer clothes, right? He wears expensive watches. He's got expensive bracelets on, right? He's got all these fucking jewelry. He's probably got like like $80,000 worth of expensive jewelry and watches on, like, that he's wearing at all times. Okay, and then probably a couple grand's worth of designer clothes, right? So when a woman sees that, of course she's going to assume that he must be someone to afford all this. So she would naturally give him the time of day. So he's skipped all past all that shit, right? And then he's just saying, for you to just be in state, fucking meditate, for you to express yourself, so that the woman will be, captured by your charisma. Okay, like, that is not how it works. Okay, like, if you are going to express your charisma, right, use it to fuel your authority. Okay, be seen as somebody important first, and then women will naturally come to you. Okay, you don't have to do all this fucking bullshit that this guy's speaking of. Okay, so again, I thought it was an interesting video. I saw it, and when I watched the video at first, I thought, like, oh, I'm gonna have to react to this because of the hypocrisy of the bullshit that he was saying. Okay, there was no mention of his fucking expensive necklace, right? You are, in essence, he's just a sugar daddy, right? And I hope that helps someone to figure out to not buy into his bullshit, right? But that is it for today. That was a funny one. Yeah, I actually enjoyed this one. So check out tomorrow. We'll see each other tomorrow, and I hope you are all doing well, and I will see you tomorrow.